another sticky issue, which may be a sticky issue as far as investor sentiment is concerned, and the Indian government has raised this with the US government, the F-16 sale to Pakistan. Ambassador Verma was called by the Indian government to express India's displeasure on this. Was this an issue that was brought up at all? I understand this may have come up at your dinner last night as well.
Or it's come up in all levels of government meetings because it's a topical issue. Look, John and I are both of a very similar perspective on this. We believe the relationship between the United States and India is reaching a level and stage where we can be strategic friends and allies of each other at a level that takes the relationship to all kinds of new possibilities. A transaction where the United States were to sell helicopters to somebody and planes to somebody else does not change the level of strategic partnership in defense, in security, in geopolitical commonality of thinking between the two countries. That's where our mind is. But we've heard from everybody, and we're certainly going to go back and discuss what we've heard when we go back there. But I think you need to just take a look at the bigger picture here. I doubt that any one transaction impacts the way all of us think about each other. There's just too much going on between these two countries for one transaction to make a difference.
Sure. Let me ask about the opportunities, and since we're talking about defense, let me start by asking you about the sense you get for the defense sector. And this could be the big game, especially as far as India is concerned, and it's the big opportunity that US companies like Boeing are exploring. In fact, Boeing inking its first joint venture just a couple of weeks ago here in India. The FDI cap at 49%, technology transfer, concerns around that, have those been allayed? Do you see really the defense sector as being the big area of opportunity?
We had a couple of terrific guys from the defense industry with us over the last day or two.
Yes, we did.
And both of them, Lockheed Martin and Boeing, were of the opinion that at the end of the day, the change in the FDI caps, and remember you can go past 49 for the right approach. They seem to be very confident that that's the right way to go. And if you choose your domestic partner well, you have a fair degree of confidence in what you're developing together, in the technology and its protection. The moment you get past the 49, you have economic incentive to bring better technology here. You know, Rich Verma said it really well. He said that they're moving past the buyer-seller relationship to a true co-development, true co-manufacturing in the defense industry. And I think he's got it right. Exactly.
So let me ask you then about Digital India and Smart Cities, which are the other big sort of flagship programs of this government. And John, you know, whether it's the Microsofts of the world, IBM, your friends at Oracle, they're all here in India exploring opportunities and possibilities. How real do you feel this opportunity really is? Because, you know, everyone talks about the smart city, phenomena. Everyone talks about the smartphone phenomena here in India. But what does it finally mean for companies like yours?
I think what it means is that you're going to see a growth in India that will lead the world for the next 2 and maybe for a decade. It enables the 1 to 3% GDP growth, and that's probably going to be a conservative number. Your Prime Minister understood that earlier than anyone else, but you had to get each of the groups moving in parallel. And what were the key takeaways from this meeting, which really surprised me? The Prime Minister always understood the power was when you bring it together. A digital India, a make in India, a smart cities, a startup India, all the way through a environmentally sound India while you grow. But it's when you bring them together is when you get your real efficiencies. So again, you're seeing India move at the fastest pace, even though it's the largest country in the world. So how much of it is hype? 2 years ago you could say this is a vision. Today you can say it's starting to execute very well. I think the key things are that we have to get our lighthouse accounts to be able to talk about here are the states that have really been successful. Here are the top 20 cities that have been really successful. Here's the GDP growth at a time that other places around the world are not growing. And here's how the startups are prospering, and here's the jobs being created.
Let me add something on that. I'm a really passionate believer in this whole smart cities idea. Because I believe that quality of life is going to be second to none as a determinant of the happiness index of people in India. And quality of life cannot happen without the right designing of these smart cities. Guys like us, with our technology, we are helping people in London, Singapore, Athens, Chicago, develop methodologies for creating the right capacity for your subway systems. I could take 5 to 8% off the capacity by demand management, by pricing methods, and by connecting to a consumer simply through their texting or a phone. Those kinds of technologies that companies like ours bring, that companies like his bring, that IBM brings and Apple brings, I think there's a whole new world here that India can tap into, take from us, and build these smart cities. And that's just one area. There's water, there's sanitation, there's so much going on. We met with the Urban Development Minister, and he's created a great framework which is now available on the web for you to figure out which of the 20 cities he's already
And
announced.
the US is already partnering with us for
exactly. How do you connect into them?
But going back to where you were leading us earlier, what are the reasons this could fail? The number one reason is culture. You won't make the changes needed. The number two is you don't break down the silos and you don't change the organization and power. Number three, you don't put the right resources in place. All three of those are changing this country.
So very quickly, let me ask you about two sticky issues. One is the feeling that we are probably going to see more protectionist measures on the part of the US government. For instance, what just happened as far as the visa fee hike is concerned. We now understand that the visa fee will, or the hiked visa fee will apply not on renewals but on new applicants, and of course this is something that NASSCOM has been sort of forcing the Indian government to take up with the US government. And the other is on the totalization agreement, where there doesn't seem to have been any forward movement on both those concerns. More protection on part of the US and any forward movement at all you expect on the totalization agreement?
Can I put it differently?
Yeah.
I don't know that the H-1B visa fee is a protectionist movement. It is used to fund the 9/11 victims' funds, first responders. Honestly, that is such a high emotive issue in the United States. You just need to see it from those eyes, as rather than a protectionist one. Could you pick some other place to put the fees? Could they have been put differently? Could they have been layered in differently? All answers can be yes, but I wouldn't view it as a protectionist thing.
Okay.
So that's just me.
And let me jump in before you go to the second piece. This is also what USIBC can do more of. It's how do we get the members of Congress, both parties, to understand what's possible between our two countries. How do we bring our countries together, and how do we get many of the members of the Senate and House here to India to see what India is really like. If I were to draw a parallel, a very small country like Israel, they have the best effective selling of their nation, and why it needs to work closely with the U.S. in terms of spending the time with key lawmakers. They also only have 3.5 million Jewish people in the country. Guess how many people we have from India in terms of the diaspora there? We have over 3.5 million, probably closer to 5 million. So this is something I think USIBC can play a key role in, and educate people ahead of time what it says, both in terms of messaging, but also practicality in terms of when we impose a fee like that on it. So this is something I think Ajay and I both share. We can do a better job in our government.
Completing my sentences. That was the second point. That was exactly the second point.
Okay.
Yeah, you can tell we're almost brothers, separated brothers.
Yes, I can tell. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So let me end by asking you, what is going to be the priority or the priority areas that you are going to be focused on, John?
In terms of India?
In terms of the USIBC and trying to promote the,
I think the number one
partnership between India and the US.
Ajay and I both would believe that we can do more in the next 5 years than we've done in the last 40, and we need to think more total concepts. Before we might have focused on either doing business or tax policy or cost equalization. We're now combining those to business outcomes, and you're seeing us be much more effective in interfacing the government groups and also to our business partners here in India to make it happen. So I think you're going to see an exponential type of thinking. Secondly, I think we need to get much stronger relationships between our countries at the key legislative level, and that requires a two-way exchange. It really requires understanding each other and the prioritization on it. What would be our third one?
My third one would be the focus on trade. I think India, to really achieve its goal of manufacturing job growth and economic growth of the type that it's looking for, needs to integrate into the global supply chains. To do that well, you're going to have to be a part of regional trade blocs.
And we're not a part of the TPP.
To get the TPP, there's steps. And I think India can get there. You're going to get a bit done with the United States, to become part of APEC. In fact, Kevin Rudd and I together have put out a paper along with the ex-Foreign Secretary in India, pushing for the case for why India should be a part of APEC. In fact, if you think about APEC, without India, it doesn't make sense. Because now India is too large an economy in this Asia-Pacific region to not be a real player at the table. So a constructive attitude towards participating in global supply chains, which will require give and take.
Okay, let me end by asking you 41 to 48, which is what your current target is, and you believe that you can actually better that quite significantly. Which are the sectors that you see most of that money coming into?
Well, it depends where the demand is from. This is about, so from what we've just spent the last couple of days on as an example, I think there's enormous opportunity in energy. And I don't mean only renewable energy, but even in clean coal, in the financing of the need for India's energy infrastructure, and of course renewables. I mean, today, Mr. Piyush Goyal made me understand a series of priorities by talking to all of us that I had never heard as clearly articulated as I got today. One of the things we're going to go back and do, John's going to do since he now runs it, is he's going to have to lay out,
we'll do it together.
lay out the manner in which those priorities could be met by companies from India.
Okay.
That's a clear space. Defense, definitely moving even faster in my opinion. I think food and agriculture is another huge area that fits what you need. And then of course, just fitting into digital. Digital impacts everybody. It impacts defense, it impacts food, it impacts technology, it impacts all of us. I'm very excited about that space.
All right, so John Chambers, are we going to see a lot more of you in India now?
You are. I'll be back next month, actually.
You'll be back next month.
And so you'll probably see me 4 to 5 times a year, and that speaks to how committed I am to this country, USIBG, what we could do together in terms of the direction, and really what we think the economic opportunity for a win-win is.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us and articulating very comprehensively what the USIBC intends to prioritize to try and take the India-US relationship forward. Appreciate your time, and thank you very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this CNBC TV 18 special. From all of us here, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.